Merry meet and welcome. Welcome to the realms of mysticism, the occult, and magic, where your possibilities are only limited by your imagination. Welcome to the Witch's Cauldron and discover the knowledge you seek. Gather round the cauldron and even stay for a spell. Brightest blessings to you. Merry meet and welcome to the Witch's Cauldron. My name's Paula. Today's video is going to be about you and your book of shadows and things like keeping a grimoire, a magical journal, things of that nature. And I get a lot of questions about my book of shadows and things like that. So I wanted to kind of go over that with you. If you guys end up liking this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me in the YouTube algorithm and gets my videos put into the recommended. Also, consider becoming a member of the channel if you want to support the channel in that way. I've got a video linked in the description box explaining what channel memberships are and what you get for the 2 levels of memberships that I have on this channel. So with all of that happy YouTube call to action stuff out of the way, let's talk about a book of shadows. Now, it depends on what path you ended up taking. Okay, if you have gone through a traditional, like Gardnerian Wiccan path, then your trad, your coven, has its own book of shadows. And part of your initiation and your participation in the coven is, copying your trad's book of shadows. I started out as a solitary and then found my tradition after I had started. So a book of shadows in my trad, in Paula's little world, is a documentation of my journey on this path. That can be anything that, like the story of how I found Wicca, how I found the trad that I ended up studying with and becoming a high priestess in. It's also about my magical correspondences, the beliefs, the principles of my trad, what my trad stands for. It's also about documenting, like, the Wheel of the Year, the Sabbats, the Esbats, the ceremonies that are associated with walking the path that I am on. I have a book of, like, beliefs that documented my study from being an initiate through dedicate, through 5 more levels. And the 5th level actually had 3 levels within it, A, B, and C. And after that, then I was what most traditions would call a high priestess. They're called advanced priestesses in my trad. And I also maintained and do maintain a separate grimoire for my kitchen witchery that also has like recipes for floor washes, protective sprays, sprays to clear energy, but it also includes like seasonal recipes with the correspondences noted in the margins for all the ingredients, how to, what spoon I used, to, how long everything took, and the results of what I prepared for a specific, say, Sabbat meal, what the results were for my family. I also maintain what I call my grimoire, and this is sort of like my recipe book. Those are the recipes for my altar oils, my oil mixes that I make up for various rituals or sabbats or esbats. It also has my recipes for incense that I use on a fairly routine basis that's not specifically created for a particular spell. My Book of Shadows not only documents my path, my belief system, how I found this path. It also includes my Sabbat and Esbat rituals that I have done. I have a second Book of Shadows, well, actually 3 now. Volume 2 and 3 have various spells. And it not only has the spell, but it also has the results of the spell. Okay? And I think that's where some people kind of miss an opportunity, because it allows you to, by doing that, keeping track of what the results of the spell were, what worked, what didn't, why do you think it didn't work, why do you think it did work, helps you, especially when you're learning, to develop your own correspondences. Because, you know, my book of correspondences evolved through my path, and there were certain herbs that I bonded with, there were certain crystals and gemstones that I bonded with, there were certain methods of divination that I bonded with. Like, I'm all about the tarot, I have a hard time with runes. Okay? I like fire scrying. Water scrying doesn't go so well for me sometimes. So it's all about documenting all those subtle differences of what you read in a book or you are taught in your trad. It's your personal relationship with the seasons, with the lunar phases, with the herbs, the gemstones, animals, everything like that. This is your personal discovery of your own set of correspondences. And don't forget that. Don't just rely on a book of correspondences to tell you what to do. Your magic becomes so much more effective when you've had enough time to figure out what gemstones work and what don't. Like aquamarine makes me mean as a snake. Okay? It just does. I don't mess with aquamarine hardly at all. But I have a really good bond with black onyx. It's always been a gemstone that I was, drawn to. And in comparison, black onyx makes my head high priestess just totally freak out. She can't stand wearing it. It just doesn't resonate with her. And that's one of the importances of maintaining a book of shadows, maintaining your grimoire, and learning what worked and what didn't. What are you naturally drawn to? What did you naturally bond with on your journey? And it also, as 15 years, okay, I have three books of shadows, 3 volumes to it. I have a kitchen grimoire, and then I have my magical regular grimoire. I used to have journals that I would keep and do lunar tracking, and that helped me figure out how I personally respond to the various phases of the moon through the seasons and everything else, and which elements that I bond with that came through. If Mercury retrograde came through, what happened during those times in those journals. Now I keep an electronic version because after so many years I can't keep hard copy books all over the house. So many years ago I went to an electronic version of my journaling. And I still, even as I get older, the effect of the moon and the seasons on me personally has changed. but it helps you as a magical practitioner to realize those changes and to remember back. And it's so kind of funny because I had a members only live stream the other night, and we were discussing Books of Shadows. And I had actually looked back at my High Priestess level training documentation. And on one of the days, I said, what I need to learn is to listen to my intuition and quit shutting it down. And I still have a problem with that today. I had like a big aha moment when I was flipping through everything, walking down memory lane, looking for ideas like for content for advanced magical practices and things like that. And I was like, here we are over 15 years later, and you're still not listening to your intuition as much as you should be. And then that's a flag for me to work on that personally, to really start trusting that inner voice that I have. So documenting your path, documenting your journey, documenting your relationship with the elements, documenting your relationship with the god and the goddess, with the lunar cycle, with the solar cycle, the solar year. It helps you as a practitioner to know, like, I know better than to do much of anything magically related during a Mercury retrograde, because it usually is wasted energy. And for some reason, I go all haywire during a Mercury retrograde. And that's just me. Your path is your own. And with that being said, you will never get a tour through my Book of Shadows, because it's my personal relationship with the divine. It's my personal path. It is my personal relationship with the elements, the gemstones, everything that I incorporate into my practice. It's my personal experience. Your experience is going to be completely different. I'm also going to throw this out. I have 3 volumes to my Book of Shadows, plus a Kitchen Witchery Grimoire and my other grimoire. And that's for 15 years. If you are following a channel that comes up and says, oh, I have another, it's another month, and this is the 4th Book of Shadows that I've done this year, and, you're 4 months into the year, there's a problem with that. Because if that is all the content that they have on their channel, is doing these crafty projects that they call a Book of Shadows and doing Dollar Tree hauls so that you can do a Book of Shadows project, then you're a plastic witch. You're not really discovering everything you need to discover to be an effective magical practitioner. If you don't want to be an effective magical practitioner and you just want to do things for the look, the aesthetic, and things like that, that's okay with you. Do you. But if you really want to realize what your full potential is as a witch, any other kind of magical practitioner, whether you're left-hand path, Satanist, Luciferian, Diabolist, heathen, whatever path you are on, it is your journey. Okay? Don't minimize the importance of your Book of Shadows by sharing it with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You may see me share. That's one of the benefits of the membership on this channel. For my advanced practitioners, I share some of my spells. Okay? They're more advanced. But I have never given a tour of my Books of Shadows. And you will never see one on this channel. You won't see an altar tour on my channel. may look back and see like an online live stream where I live streamed a ritual, and you can see a few things on my altar. But you're not going to get a full tour of my altar and what the items are, my daily altar that I work with every day to strengthen my connection with the divine, with the elements, with the gemstones and things that I have developed a personal affinity for. You won't get the items that have been handcrafted for me by other witches or shamans that are loved, very, very beloved magical objects. You won't get to see them because they're mine. And I would hope and encourage you to do the same. Your path is your own. All right. Your relationship with the divine, or lack of a relationship with the divine, is your own. Okay. It is not like my magical name. You guys will never know what my magical name is. The only other person that knows what my magical name, well, I should say people, are people in my trad that I went through training with. So other high priestesses in my trad and my head high priestess are the ones who know what my magical name is. My partner of 14 years never knew what my magical name was the entire time that we were together. He never had a clue what my magical name is. And he never will. He'll never learn. He'll never, he didn't ever have the right to that knowledge. That is for me and the divine and me and my coven. I would hope that you guys take away from this video that your magical practice is your own, and your relationship with your path is your own. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. If you put in plastic and you make it look pretty, then you're going to have a plastic practice. But if you put in thought, hard work, and it may not be aesthetically pleasing, it may not, be decorated like the Book of Kells or something like that. It may not be written in fancy calligraphy. It could be an electronic Book of Shadows. It's yours and yours alone. Okay? It's not to be put out there for every Tom, Dick, and Harry running down the street. And that's just my opinion on everything. So, with that, my friends, I hope this helps explain a little bit about your Book of Shadows and the relationship it is, and its relationship to your walk on this path. Do what feels right. Really work at it, because if you only put in half effort, you're only going to get half effort out of it. Okay. It takes a lot of work, a lot of study, and a lot of dedication and effort to get to the level of practice that I attained. I studied for years. I'm talking years to get to this level. And I study every day. I learn something new every day that I walk this path. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And as I always say, my friends, merry we did meet, merry we will part until we merry meet again. Be well and walk in love and light, everybody. Bye.